Welcome to Life Animated, where you are the star. We take ordinary, everyday stories and turn them into something magical with the power of animation. Our first story is about a girl who dreamt of being a superhero.
Growing up, I loved Superman, the original Superman. Christopher Reeves, he was my idol. I was living in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin at the time. I must have been about 10 years old, and my mom was driving my sisters and I home from church, and it was a really pretty scenic drive home, and there was a point where the road dipped toward a creek, and it was, I don't know, 20, 30 feet across. But I remember this one Sunday afternoon, as we were driving down that road, I started screaming, "Mom, Mom, you have to stop the car, you have to pull over." And she said, what's going on? And I pointed to something in the middle of the road, and she said, "Okay." And she kind of rolled her eyes, and she pulled off to the side of the road, and she parked. And so I hopped out, I opened the sliding door of the van, and I looked both ways, and then I ran out into the road, and right sitting on the yellow line was a little turtle. And I thought this was the biggest deal. I must have heard theme music playing in my head, but I reached down and I ever so gently picked up this turtle, and I carried him across the road, the direction that he had been walking. He was making this journey across this vast stretch of pavement, and I sat him down on the bank of the creek, and then he scurried into the water, and then I marched my way back to the van, and I was so proud of that. I must have been glowing. I got back in the car, wiped off my dirty hands on my little Sunday dress, and we drove home. It was great. I was so proud of that. I shared that story with all of my cousins and aunts and uncles, and one of my aunts actually made me a t-shirt for it that said, "This gal helped a turtle once." I swooped in from above and I saved the day.
Can you believe that? She saved the day, just like a real superhero. Our next story is about a family on a farm who find themselves in a bit of a smelly situation.
When I was a young girl growing up, we lived on a melon farm in the Arizona Strip, and it's very hot and dry. So if anyone's brave enough to go out there and try to make a living, then they sort of create this natural oasis for all the critters and creepers that could exist. So amongst the many things that are completely adaptable are skunks. But one night, our cat just came banging into the kitchen, just reeking of skunk. So when we put the cat out, we didn't know that the skunk had proceeded to hide behind the pots and pans underneath the cupboards and work its way over to a little mouse hole that existed in the wall. This, a mouse hole that really looked like the Tom and Jerry type mouse hole, the little round hole in the wall. It naturally would come out at night after all had quieted and we'd all gone to bed. And it picked up a routine where it would go out of its hole and around the kitchen and into the living room and around the walls of that, looking for all the tiny little insects and things it could nibble up. Then it would go back. So it did this nightly routine, and I used to think, oh, this is really not bad if I don't meet him. But the biggest problem that existed was this home had been built before indoor plumbing, and when we put up a flush toilet, it had its own space outside of the house. But you had to go out of the house to go to it and back in, and now the skunk is there. So if you have to get up at night, it took a lot of courage to talk yourself to getting out of bed. And I remember doing that one night and tiptoeing as carefully as I could, and I got out. And I finished my business and I was ready to come back. And I had to get my courage up to open the door to the kitchen and listen. And just as I was about across the kitchen, I heard the click, click, clack. And oh my goodness, I tore out of there so fast. Well, just by chance one day, my older sister and myself and my mom had come in from some of our farm labors. And as we were walking through the kitchen, my mom looked over towards the sink. And beneath the sink, there was a little drip that came out of one of the faucets. The skunk must have been thirsty that day. My mom looks underneath the sink and can see the skunk getting a drink of water. She sees it over there and she goes, "Oh, there's the skunk. Do you think that I should grab it?" She had recently read that you could grab a skunk by the tail, hold it in the air, and it cannot spray you because it can't brace its feet. So she gingerly, quietly stepped on tiptoe across the kitchen, and she's getting her arm out fully to the side of her, and she crouches down. She's got that right arm out. She whips it down underneath the sink and comes back up with the skunk by the tail. We pushed that door open. We're yelling, "Mom's got the skunk! Mom's got the skunk!" When my father came home later, we informed him of what had happened. The skunk was still in the barrel, and he took it in the pickup miles and miles and miles away.
Oh, can you believe that? She picked up a skunk. Thanks for watching Life Animated. Until next time. We believe this show has the chance to touch the hearts of the viewers in a profound way. The way that normal storytelling might not be able to do. Children and parents watching together, learning about life. Thanks for joining us on Life Animated.